We talked about dated horror film shit.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest dated horror film things where the zombie is running. Why is she a zombie? Number two, how the fuck is she running faster than them when she has glass on her feet?
Glass on her feet.
Three, I thought she could fly.
Yeah. If John McClane in Die Hard could fucking fly.
Instead, she chooses in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. If you haven't listened to this podcast before, we talk about literally anything and everything. But today we are going to talk about one of my favorite films of all time. One of the worst Marvel films I've ever seen in my fucking life, to the point where usually when I watch a film, before we do a review, I'll watch it a couple of times, right? And, first time is always the same. It's like, just watch it for what it is. Don't overanalyze it. Just watch it, whatever. Yeah. Second time, you could be a little more analytical. If I like it that much, I'll watch it 3 times. This one was rough. Yeah. This one was fucking rough, man. Yeah. And I think like the biggest, and we're talking about Doctor Strange.
Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse of Madness, which number one, to do a multiverse film is very, very difficult because it's a very complicated subject, unless we're talking about Everything Everywhere All at Once, which was fantastic.
Fantastic.
This one was a shit show.
Yeah. Well, you saw it but you waited for it to come out on Disney Plus, right?
Yeah, I waited because people said it was trash. And then like for me, obviously like what pandemic taught me the most was that the movie going experience really does enhance the film. Yeah. Right? There's absolutely unless you have a lot of money for you to create your own theater, but even then it's just different.
It's different, yeah.
However they set up the sound, the huge screen, the ambiance, whatever that it is, watching film in a theater is an experience that cannot be replicated at home.
Yeah.
Having said that, I still wouldn't have liked it.
But you made the right choice for this one. And as we're speaking right now, it's the Thor premiere day for the public. And I don't want to see it opening weekend anymore. I used to be that guy Wednesday night, if they do, showing up to opening nights. Yeah. Thursday nights, The last opening night, I went to see Multiverse of Madness. Probably the worst experience in a theater I've ever had in my life. Because it's like, there's some fucking cameo. There's some like joke or whatever. And it's just, oh shit. And like people cheering and all that stuff. And I was like, man, you know what? Like, I think because of the Infinity War and Endgame theater like environment, because that was once in a generation experience, people are trying to replicate that in the theaters now. And they like scream and fucking cheer. And I can't stand that shit.
So I got to see Thor Love and Thunder ahead of time. Right? Yeah. Tim took me to the pre-screening or whatnot, right? Great. There's no previews or anything like that. You just get to see the film straight up. And I want to tell you how bad I want to say that a lot of people try to do stand-up for the first time at that movie. Oh no. They thought that they were fucking funny. It's like every time they made a joke, they were trying so hard to get the crowd to laugh. And there was one guy specifically there that kept on making these random jokes and noises that nobody fucking laughed at.
Wait, so was this like an influencer's early screening thing?
Kind of, yeah.
It's just people.
And I just wanted to turn around and just be like, bro,
this isn't like a class clown situation.
Yeah. Man. Also, too, if nobody laughed at the first 6 jokes, number 7's not what hit. Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
Are you recording your own DVD commentary track, motherfucker?
Like watching it too, I understand when you're in a theater full of other influencers or people who just wanted to watch the film, there's going to be cheering, hooping, whatever, especially Marvel films. Yeah. I've just come to understand that. Yeah. This one guy though did not understand that he was not funny.
He's like, are you even talking about the same movie right now, bro? Yeah.
And it's so weird too. I think people were trying to wait for their moment to make a joke at the film, that they were missing a lot of the jokes because, Taika Waititi, albeit when we'll talk about this when you watch Love and Thunder as well. Yeah. I wasn't a big fan of Ragnarok because I love Taika Waititi, but I felt like the jokes were so incessant that it was hard for me to get into the film.
But that was because that wasn't what you were expecting. When
exactly.
You saw it. Yeah.
And so I was kind of like, okay, let me reframe my mind and watch this because I knew it was a Taika Waititi film, which I knew beforehand too. But I just felt like in Ragnarok, it was a lot of jokes. It's a type of humor that I don't like, which is rambling.
Right.
Which is a lot of, I know a lot of people watch Dave on FX. I hate that type of humor.
It just keeps going. The scene is extended because whether they're, what are you doing, improv or whatever. And in the edit, they're like, yeah, let's keep it going.
That's the thing that happened with Ragnarok. They let these moments happen where it's about to be a serious conversation. And then all of a sudden, Chris Hemsworth, who plays Thor, obviously, starts going on this just starts rambling these jokes for the longest time. They didn't do this with Love and Thunder. They made the jokes very purposeful, straight to the point, fucking hilarious.
Okay, so they tightened it up.
They tightened it up, which made it so much better for me. Okay. You know what I mean? And that's the same reason why I don't like Dave, because it's just Lil Dicky going on this. Like, it'll be jokes like this if you haven't seen the show. He'll be like, oh, I love laundry detergent. You know, laundry detergent because it gets on your clothes and sometimes it's powdery. Maybe they think it's cum. You know, cum's kind of weird, right? And they'll just keep fucking. It's like, bro, the joke is done. Move the fuck on.
Right.
And that's why I didn't like it. But going back to this film's hot trash.
Well, speaking of expectations, and when you're walking into a multiverse movie, well, not walking in, you're in your living room. What were you try to set your expectations of this is just coming at me kind of thing? Or did you have a Ragnarok situation?
This film, I didn't expect anything at all.
Right.
So I'm not too well versed with Doctor Strange, right? So I don't know about Doctor Strange. I mean, I'm a Marvel fan, but I'm not a fanatic in that type of sense. So I don't exactly know who Doctor Strange is, aside from the times in the comic books where he would come in and save the day, right? Because it had to do with magic and sorcery, and whatever bad guy had to do with magic and sorcery, Doctor Strange would come in.
He was one of those comic book characters you looked at like, is he Asian? Like Namor, like I thought he was Asian too. Yeah. They just casted a South American dude for the Namor movies. Like, all right then.
I was like, I don't know what he is or what he does, but all he does is, he just does this,
So I mean, same. The most of what I know about Doctor Strange was like the little bit I saw from the Spider-Man cartoon, maybe.
Exactly.
And then literally the MCU movies.
Yeah, and they just had like these Chinese dishes.
So okay. Let's talk about that. So in the first movie, what we noticed, because we actually made a movie about it when you called it Dr. Isange, right?
Yeah.
Like this trope of a white man who goes to Asia to become the master, at some Asian shit.
And learns from a bald white lady.
Yeah, from a bald white lady. It's just all kind of weird appropriation or like rule bending. Like, see, look, we didn't totally, do some racist shit. If we cast an Asian man, that would be racist. Yeah. Like, that was their argument. Like, all right, fucking roundabout motherfuckers. But I think a little bit of that saltiness watching it on the screen though was that it was all Eastern magic.
Yeah.
They're wearing fucking
monk robes.
Yeah, they're like monks, right? All of that. Their architecture of their whole, like everywhere they go is like Eastern magic. In this one, they threw that shit out the window. Like it was all like witchcraft kind of thing or whatever. And it's like, okay, fine. It's a new kind of magic. Doctor Strange is supposed to be this dope fucking sorcerer. He can do both, Eastern and Western. All right. And then it's like, okay, I can get over that stuff. And then as it's just going though, I don't know. Sometimes when I'm seeing it, it's just like, this is probably the most corniest MCU movie I've ever seen too.
Yeah.
But then you attribute that to the director, Sam Raimi, right? Sam Raimi, if you guys aren't familiar, Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, the Tobey Maguire ones. Before that, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead, I believe, those old 80s, like cheap ass horror flicks. Like he has a style, right? Like he even has it in Spider-Man where he does these POV camera clips. Like if someone throws a knife, all of a sudden the cuts to camera is the knife POV, right? Now, at the time, like you do that, it's stylistic or whatever. But by the time Spider-Man came out, it's like you had great technology.
Yeah.
You had all this budget, but then it was like, this is his style. We get to a movie like Multiverse of Madness and there's amazing CGI, right? And then there are moments that it looks lackluster. We said earlier, it looked like this is obviously a reshoot.
Yeah. Those are the parts that was really jarring for me.
Yeah.
Well, I was looking at some of the CGI and there was moments where I'm like, this is really dope. And then I looked at it, I was like, this is really shitty. what is this shit? It was the same
It
thing
goes
that happened.
on and off.
Yeah,
on
same
and
thing
off.
with like Shang-Chi had those moments too,
Yeah.
where it was like, oh, this is really dope. And then it went, this is really shitty.
Yeah.
Like, why is it so inconsistent? And then I watched Spider-Man, was it Homecoming?
Latest one, No Way Home.
No Way Home.
Yeah.
And the CGI was consistent throughout the whole film.
Consistent. Yeah.
So what the fuck is happening with these films?
So like Black Panther, terrible CGI in moments, very
Mhm.
bad in moments. Especially that very last fight in that mine, terrible. The thing is, it's not like they spent less money on a cheaper VFX house, therefore it looks cheaper, or they got a bad artist to do it. No, it's like every artist has a level of skill, especially if you're doing a Hollywood film, like a quality, like standard, right?
Mhm.
But with VFX, it's about time.
Mm.
How much time do you have, like, to render more layers, render more perfected lighting and effects and all of that? It takes time. Like Black Panther's case apparently was a hard February release date because Black History Month.
Mm.
And then
So they had to rush a lot of things.
apparently that last shot, that last fight scene was a reshoot, and they shot it in December.
Oh my
So
God.
they
man.
had 2 months to finish that.
So just to give people a little bit of reference, just because I only know this because Mariel was in production for a lot of 3D arts and animation and stuff, right? Like for example, she used to work for Tim Miller's company who did Love, Death, and Robots.
Love, Death, and Robots, Deadpool 1.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I had no fucking idea how much work people who do CGI, how intense it is, right? And by the way, it's not as exciting as most people think. It's not one person or three people doing everything scene by scene by scene. Like for example, if you see like a movie called like Moana, right?
Yeah.
There's a set CGI team that just works on fucking hair.
Yeah. And a person who simulates the sun.
Yes.
Someone who simulates the atmosphere.
The
of what's in
water.
the air. Yeah. Each layer, somebody else is like engineering that.
Exactly. And so you'll see people like I forgot who I was talking to because I was at the it was Frozen 2 after party, right? And it was super fucking dope. And I was talking to one of the artists and he was like, yeah, man, like the work that we do is really, really hard. He goes, you see that part of the film, the part where the ice went like that? He goes, that was me.
Yeah,
he goes,
that's all they did.
I worked on that for 6 months.
6 months, right? Yeah. It's fucking crazy how much work they have, right? Imagine Disney went, hey, you have 2 months to do this.
Fuck that, dude.
That, right?
Yeah.
And then and so that's the problem we're starting to see as the audience too. You can see great CGI and bad CGI. I'm just saying as an audience, be fair to these artists because it's really hard to do.
Yeah.
At that point, it's because of time. But Spider-Man is a huge property. You fucking know they've been working on that for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
Right. And so they're gonna have it tight and shit. But like a lot of these, first time, like first opening films or whatever, like sometimes it seems a little rough around the edges. But even big films like this one, things happen like COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's had to be reshoots. And so there are scenes where it's just like, it looks pretty rough around the edges.
That's what happened to when we did a review of Raya and the Last Dragon.
Right.
That was everybody was working from home during COVID.
Yeah, the entire movie was a pandemic.
Yes. And it was very, very fucking apparent. And that was my critique of it. Not so much of the artist, it's just that's what pandemic did to the film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like working from home when it comes to stuff like in production is very, very fucking hard. Like setting up meetings, the flow of work, it's so difficult because when you have to make on the fly adjustments, you have to call people up and do a group Zoom meeting. When in person, you just go, hey, by the way, make sure you do this.
Yeah. And then you got to all sit there, schedule a time to have a screening to look at your shot.
Yep.
And it all depends on your fucking internet connection and all that shit.
Yeah. And people were doing voiceover work at home for like for example, I forgot who I saw that was doing voiceover work, but it was behind the scenes for Raya and the Last Dragon.
Right.
And they had to do it in their closet with a laptop open with the director with like blankets all around. Like what kind of, and the audio in Raya and the Last Dragon was not that great.
It gets inconsistent.
Yes.
Right. So like productions issues aside, the story, what we always do is just go through the plot in Wikipedia.
Yeah.
And we just talk about like remembering the scene. So America Chavez and a version of Stephen Strange are chased by a demon in space between universes while searching for the book of Vishanti. That Strange is killed and Chavez accidentally creates a portal that transports herself and Strange's corpse to Earth 616, where that universe's version of Strange rescues Chavez from another demon, with help from the Sorcerer Supreme, Wong. Chavez explains that the beings are hunting her because she has the power to travel through the multiverse. The film opens and it's just like, big action scene. It's in Spanish and this big squid monster is chasing her, right? It's all CGI and all this stuff. And they're all going for this book.
Before we continue, my lovely genius brain farts. This podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp. You guys know I love BetterHelp, and I'm going to keep on talking about this lovely sponsor because it's helped me so much and it can help you too. For those of you out there that do not focus on your mental health because you think it makes you look weak or you're just shy, there's nothing to worry about. BetterHelp is there for you. How well would you take care of your car if you had to keep the same one your entire life? Well, that's how our brains work. So why don't you treat it the same way? There are plenty of ways to support a healthy brain, like learning a new language or taking power naps. There's also BetterHelp and online therapy. I've been using BetterHelp for quite a while, and it helps me sort out my thoughts because, being on social media can be freaking rough mentally, emotionally, and everything else. And having my therapist help me and walk me through my problems and sessions have been really, really great. BetterHelp is online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat only therapy sessions. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. You can be matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/genius. That's betterhelp.com/genius.
As soon as I heard that, it's like the book that lets you do anything was like
lazy.
That's pretty damn lazy.
It's fucking lazy, man.
Yeah.
So that's already off the jump, which, by the way, there's like 2 books in here, right?
Yes. Okay. I want to get to that.
Yeah.
Not only are there 2 books, story-wise, plot-wise, there are like 3 MacGuffins. All these plot chasing points, like where they have to go after.
I had no idea. I don't like it too when something as powerful, right? Like the Book of Ashanti, right? And there's no real explanation to why this thing is so dope. It's like, dude, that book right there is the shit.
Yeah. And spoiler alert, it doesn't do shit.
We'll talk about that too.
Yeah, we'll get there.
That shit pissed me off so bad.
That's okay. All right. So he's at the strange we know. Basically, the monster kills this other universe's strange, and this girl, Mexico Chavez, America Chavez.
Hold on. What's that? Mexico Chavez.
Sorry, Costa Rica Chavez.
You know what the funny thing is? I was thinking when you said it, I was like, no, that's right.
No. Oh shit! I'm sorry. America. What the fuck was I even bringing up? Oh my gosh. Okay, so she has the power to jump through multiverses.
Mm-hmm.
And they get sucked into the Marvel universe we know, Earth 616, that's what it's called. And by the way it's explained, Stephen Strange sees that as a dream and he wakes up. Later it's explained that all of our dreams are actually connections to other multiverses. That's a plot point. Then Stephen Strange gets ready for a wedding, and it's for his old flame, Rachel McAdams, right? Christine. Now, in the first movie, they had 0 chemistry.
Yes.
Right? I'm glad. It only makes sense that she's moving on and, marrying someone else. It was actually kind of like really shitty what they did to her as an actress, like to give her this role as this character, and she didn't have shit to do.
Yeah.
It was pretty terrible. So in this one, she's marrying someone else, and then a giant squid monster with big eyeball attacks town, New York City. He goes in, saves the day. And then here's the weird thing about his magic from what we've seen from the past Marvel films. All of a sudden, he turns to the Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
This is the thing too. Like, so if you know a little bit about Doctor Strange, right? He is he's not the Sorcerer Supreme in this world, right?
Yeah.
But essentially he could be. And he is supposed to be the shit. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, some of his magic in this movie was a little shitty.
Yeah, I think it was a lot less imaginative than the last.
Yeah, they kind of
films.
nerfed him.
Yeah.
Which was like when I saw that fight scene, I'm like, what is this shit, dude?
I think that's the point because he went one-on-one with Thanos, right? Yeah. So it's like, you got to make it tough for them story-wise. But then when you take it that far in a previous film, I just really want to see something like, because I hate doing this, but then, like we said, it's kind of lazy, like to nerf a character, to bring it back or do something a lot less imaginative.
And the reason why, for me, nerfing his powers don't make sense in this film is because you later on find out in the film that this octopus squid fuck, right, is not even supposed to be that strong. It's in placement of the person who placed that monster there.
Right.
So why does this have to be such a difficult battle? You know what I mean?
Opening big CGI fight.
I guess,
And I think it set the tone too, because it was fucking gross. That shit grossed me out, man.
Of course you did,
Yeah,
dude.
for me, I'm thalassophobic. I can't see. I have a hard time watching Finding Dory because of that octopus. Holy shit. That shit
what's your favorite horror film? Dude, Finding Dory.
Yeah, Finding Dory, man. No, but it set the tone at the level of violence that they're going for. Dude, when poke the fucking eyeball out and pulled that shit out.
Ripped out, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the most violent scenes in a Disney MCU movie. Like, oh shit, I'm watching this on Disney Plus right now.
Yeah.
So let's see, where are we in the plot?
So this is after they had the octopus scene, and
she tells them that she has the power to jump multiverses, but she can't control it, right? It just happens when she's scared. And so he recognizes that these, the monsters, they're witchcraft runes. So Strange consults Wanda Maximoff for help, but realizes that she is responsible for the attacks. After acquiring the Darkhold and becoming the Scarlet Witch, Maximoff believes that controlling Chavez's powers will allow her to reunite with Billy and Tommy, the children she created during her time in Westview. And I'm going to hold it there. So if you didn't see WandaVision, you're jumping into this theater like, huh?
Exactly. Which is something that I fucking hate.
It's a bit problematic that they expect so much from the audience. Like, you have a Disney Plus membership, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you saw this one, right?
So for a lot of people who didn't watch WandaVision, they didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah.
They're like, wait, hold up. Why is Scarlet Witch evil? What is her motive? And so they kind of brush past this whole thing because they're like, oh, this is stuff that you should have known, which doesn't make sense because she is the main antagonist in the whole fucking film.
Off the jump, too.
Yes. Just, there's no background to it. She's just like, by the way, I'm evil.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all we get.
It's like, okay, like I said, it keeps going back to the idea of it being lazy.
Mm-hmm.
If, in the past, when it connects films, you give some backstory so we understand. Like even the first Avengers, for those who didn't see the previous films, right? Explain to me how Avengers which is part 4 of this MCU, or part 5 at the time, made billions of dollars when the previous ones didn't make that much. That means a lot of people saw this without seeing the previous film.
Yeah.
Because it was good enough to stand on its own by backing up the characters within the story.
Just like Captain America's.
Yes.
Captain America does a really, really good job.
Yeah, to catch you up to the story. Instead, it was like, I'm not here to judge you for what you did in Westview. And the audience might be like, what happened in Westview?
Yeah. They're like, where's Westview?
Yeah, what is this?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Now, like I said, a lot of fans would be like, well, then why are you watching it? You should have saw all. But you can't expect that much from an audience member. You have to present the story unfold on itself.
And by the way, too, it's not like WandaVision was a film.
Right.
It's on Disney. That means you would have to have an account to have watched that show. It was not a film. It was an episodic series.
Yeah, and you have to dedicate 9 hours to
which a lot of people didn't even get through the damn show because it was so slow for them.
Right.
So they still wouldn't have even gotten it.
Yeah.
So it's just that part too, it already set such a bad tone because it's one of the things I really, really disliked about earlier Marvel films where they would expect the audience to know too much.
So at the end of WandaVision though, she's struggling. She's struggling with the idea like, oh my God, what have I done? Like throughout the series, we're seeing what is making an antagonistic character, out of her, right? Why is she making these decisions? And the decision she makes, creates the antagonism in her, right? And then when she realizes that on the last episode, she's coming to oh my God, like, I'm so sorry. And she runs away, right, to this cabin. Now, pick up back here. It's just, yep, I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
Yep. Like, here I am. Now, you give me America. I want her. I've been responsible. I sent the monsters. Oh, you were responsible for this whole time. Oh.
Even like the way they did the reveal was so stupid. It was like, why don't you just bring America here? Oh, I didn't tell you her name, did I?
And then the whole garden or the apple tree forest like turns into shit, and it's all whatever. And then she's like, bring me America. And then she tells him, you have till tomorrow. And then he goes away. And then it's like, what was the whole point of like spending all that money with changing this whole reality?
That's the thing too.
And, like,
what was the point of that?
To say, look, my landscaping is evil as well.
There was absolutely no point to that.
Point, like, for kids to be like, oh, that's the bad guy.
Yeah.
I get it, right? Make it easy. But it was, I'm just, that it's going to come up. So that's why I was damn lazy.
Yeah.
You could have, I don't see a problem in Wanda teaming up with Doctor Strange, then learning more about the magic that she's inexperienced in, because he's supposed to be the shit. Mm-hmm. And the more she learns, the more she caters to her desires to see her sons. Then we see a gradual progression where while they're working together, the story does a pincer movement into where she makes a decision where she becomes the antagonist.
Yeah.
That could have happened in the third fucking act.
Yeah.
Instead, boom, off the bat, she's the bad guy. Now it's a big chasing thing. It's not going back to where this movie is. It's the MCU's first horror movie.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that was the trope, right? It was just, here's the bad guy killer with a knife, and now we're all running.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of what we saw go through.
I mean, I will talk about it more as, especially when these later scenes come on. But one of the things and listen, I would say that it's, when you have like these huge budget films with the huge production behind it that has a huge label such as Disney, there's like this fear that Disney will step in and tell you to change a lot of what can make a film really great. Mm-hmm. However, Sam Raimi is also responsible for Spider-Man. So I couldn't really give him that excuse on this one.
Yeah.
And for me, when I see films like this and, Sam Raimi wants to do a take on this, making this a horror film, hey, go hard or fucking go home.
Yeah.
Right? Don't fucking pussyfoot around. And it's terrible. It was just so dated. You know what I mean? Very dated.
It just felt like somehow this movie was made in the early 90s, but they had state-of-the-art, CGI and like IMAX cameras. But the production, like if you take away the CGI, but the way it's edited and made, filmed, composed, dated.
Yeah, it's
very
super dated, man.
Yeah.
And I'll talk about it later on too.
Yeah.
Continue. Yeah.
So when Strange refuses to surrender Chavez, Maximoff attacks Kamar-Taj, which is the base in, not Tibet, I guess. Cause
yeah, I don't know where the fuck.
Yeah, wherever it was. Killing many sorcerers. Chavez accidentally transports herself and Strange to Earth 383 while Maximoff uses the Darkhold to dreamwalk, taking control of her Earth 838 counterpart, who lives a suburban life with her own Billy and Tommy. A surviving sorceress sacrifices herself to destroy the Darkhold and break the dreamwalk. Enraged, Maximoff forces Wong to lead her to Mount Wundagore, the source of the Darkhold's power to reestablish the dreamwalk.
By the way, I hate all these names.
Yeah.
I hate all these names. And this only adds to the thing of just dated shit. This is like the stuff that they used to label in like 70s comic books.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, did you go to Mount Mankatuka? It's like.
But I think all of these things were created in that time, the 70s though, right? Okay, so they have this scene of this battle at their temple thing. She breaks through into somebody's mind, and then it does that fucking thing again. Like, I don't know what it is with Marvel, but these motherfuckers have bows and arrows and cannons.
Yeah.
Like firework cannons with dragon mouths as the barrel.
Yeah.
But then again, okay, so they shoot the arrows and they've got magic behind them, but they're not like any faster. It just feels like, I don't think you guys would have had much of a problem with guns either.
Yeah. And once again, it kind of goes back into the whole idea of they kind of cut like the last stronghold of magic, right?
Yeah.
And their defense is just them putting up their hands and they only protect a very specific spot. not a whole shield that's generated.
Yeah.
Like those type of things.
You guys should go check out Wakanda, man. They got to figure it out.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't think your magic's cutting it, man. You guys need some technology. Get onto the fucking 21st century,
bro.
Yeah.
Like when I saw that and I'm like, oh wait, it only works for a specific spot that they hold their hand
and
out.
they concentrate.
And they concentrate. Like it's not like a whole thing that's going on. I'm like, this is supposed to be the last stronghold of magic to save everybody.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm basing this off of, once again, going back to how amazing Doctor Strange was before, fighting Thanos toe to toe.
Yeah.
And then you see all this shit, and which, by the way, Wong is supposed to be pretty fucking strong too.
Yeah.
And they make that fool look like a bitch throughout this whole film, which I hate because I love Benedict Wong. You know?
I mean, him falling off the cliff, coming back up, but then ultimately not doing shit.
Anything.
He didn't do shit in that temple. He got tossed around a lot.
A lot.
Yeah. He got his ass like fucking handed.
The only thing he's good for, which is such an Asian trope, is that he's really good at reading books and knowing things.
The expositionist in this film.
Yeah.
He was the one that told Wanda everything she needed to know, man, and guided her along the way. So that was like the weird thing. Like, as I mentioned, this was written by the guy who used to work at Rick and Morty. Like Disney hired this guy because he understands writing the multiverse. And the more that was in the back of my head, I was watching Doctor Strange as Rick and America Chavez as Morty.
Yeah, that's fucking funny, dude.
So, because whenever America Chavez freaks out, her powers come out, and then they travel somewhere. I mean, it's every time there's Doctor Strange, they have that dope like fucking CGI like travel fest. I love that shit. It's very stylistic. It lasts only 2 minutes, but they end up in this like perfect New York, right? Not a perfect, but it's just different. It's very vibrant, all this stuff. It's a different universe.
Very high tech, very fast forward. Yeah.
They lay out the general rules or whatever. Now, instead of these two characters really getting to know each other, they accidentally step on this button on the ground, and then it's like, boom, this retail store that reads your dreams for you. They might as well called it like Exposition R Us or something.
I'm so glad you brought that shit up, because once again, we're going to talk about how fucking lazy this film is.
Lazy.
That shit, first of all, why?
Why? No, because it's a multiverse. It could have it.
Okay.
So cheap and lazy though.
In the middle of the street, out of nowhere.
Yeah.
There's just random technology in this world that's placed where you step on it. Let me just recollect all your shit for you.
Yeah.
Boom.
In public, in IMAX size.
So
everyone can see your biggest trauma of your life. In New York City. Oh my God. Are you kidding me? I'm like
I would be so scared to step anywhere, dude. I step on the circle as a video of my dad beating my ass. Like, yo,
don't go to third grade. Yeah. Don't go back to 1993, please.
Don't go to the time I came in my pants in front of that girl I liked.
It's like, yeah, you better watch where you're walking now in this city.
And that was the thing too, when it went to that trauma, and I was like, hold on a second. If that's supposed to be something that's very personal that you see, why the fuck was Doctor Strange allowed to see everything? Yeah. He was just like, by the way, I saw you naked.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, like that scene became another issue, and not because it's so fucking dumb, but because America's parents are lesbians. She has 2 moms.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, and so this is why it wasn't allowed to play in a lot of countries. But despite that, this movie made $900 million, dude.
Jesus.
Yeah. Imagine if they got those other numbers.
Because those countries were like, gay? No way.
Yeah. But like, so in the Middle East, like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Like, But like I said, living in Iraq, dude, they have every movie out there at the bazaar on DVD, dude. Anything that's out there, they'll get it. Yeah. So they don't really need movie theaters. But that was part of the news with that, but didn't seem to affect at all with its numbers. Let's see. And then while searching for help, Strange and Chavez are apprehended by Earth 838 Sorcerer Supreme Carl Mordo and brought before the Illuminati, a group consisting of Mordo, Peggy Carter, Blackagar Boltagon, Maria Rambeau, Reed Richards, and Charles Xavier. They explained that through reckless use of their universe's Darkhold in the attempt to defeat Thanos, Earth 838 Strange triggered a universe-destroying incursion. After defeating Thanos, the Illuminati executed their Strange to prevent him from causing more harm. Mordo believes that Earth 616's Strange is similarly dangerous, but Maximoff reestablished her dreamwalk at Mount Wundagore and arrives in her Earth 838's counterpart's body before they can pass judgment. She kills all of the Illuminati except Mordo, whom Strange subdues before fleeing with Chavez. The two escape with help from Earth 838's counterpart of Strange's ex-fiancée, Christine Palmer, a scientist working with the Illuminati. All right, so cameo, like supreme cameo of all cameos all at once.
Jim Halpert appears.
Yes. My theater went so crazy that I couldn't hear the fucking dialogue, what they were saying. I just wanted to take it in, but then the problem was it wasn't like all like 100 people were cheering and saying stuff. There was like 5 shithead kids who were just screaming their asses off and were like,
can I just say, this is one of the things that I remember I just rolled my eyes so fucking hard. So you have fucking Tuning Fork Bunderbore, whatever the fuck his name is, right? Who is
Blackagar Boltagon.
Yeah,
Black Bolt.
Yeah, Black Bolt, whatever the fuck his name is, right? He's so powerful on a whisper could kill anybody, right? So right before they're trying to appease to this new, Scarlet Witch, right?
Yeah.
Then they go, listen, what does Jim Halpert do?
He fucking exposes his power to her.
What the fuck?
Don't say shit.
He goes, listen, this person right here, if they open their mouth, what can happen, right? She goes, oh, cool. I'll close his mouth.
What mouth, right? It's like, oh my God. What if like fucking Jim Halpert was like, hey, you know what, Wanda? You're right. Let's go find your kids. Black Bolt, why don't you lead the way? And then he's just like, blast her. Like, let's go.
Right.
Anything, right?
Which for me, like the reason why that also doesn't make sense too, right? You have somebody like Scarlet Witch, which they know this world, they kind of set these characters up, the Illuminati, as being very, very cautious, right? And they'll do whatever they can to protect this universe.
Yeah.
But for some reason, they see this major threat who just destroyed their whole fortress and just came in and they tried to appease to her emotions. It's like, you just killed Doctor Strange like it was nothing.
Yeah.
And then over here, he's like, let me just talk to you and try to rationalize with you. None of this makes sense.
You just gave this huge story about why you had to kill your Doctor Strange. What's the problem? What's holding you back with this crazy threat coming at you right now?
She just literally destroyed all your fucking platoon. Like they're all dead. They're all gone. All the robots, whatever. Fucked everything up. And they go, let me take this moment to try to rationalize with this person. And by the way, the one thing that could kill you, let me tell you the secret. What the fuck?
Man, it was brutal though. I mean, for what it was worth, them coming in and then like killing them immediately, I don't know if it was satisfying or just what do you call it? Like a really dead ejaculation.
Yeah.
God, that was it.
And this trying to watch, like, first of all, I thought it was hilarious that fucking Fantastic Four, fucking what's his face? What's the
Reed Richards.
Reed Richards was like, I'm gonna do something. All right, rubber band man. And then look what happens to him. He gets dismantled. Of course that was going to happen.
So that's the other thing I'm not like appreciating when we talk about nerfing and laziness is that as powerful as they are, why do you nerf them with stupidity?
Yeah.
Why do they have to be dumb to lose, you know?
It's just pure fucking nonsense, dude.
Yeah.
And like also too, one of the greatest, and once again, we're talking about nerfing characters, right? Charles Xavier, no matter how strong Scarlet Witch is, he is one of the most powerful minds in Marvel, in the whole X-Men universe.
Yeah.
Controls Magneto. He had a hard time with it, but he fucking worked the Phoenix, which is supposed to be one of the most powerful beings in the universe.
Yeah.
And he got fucked up by Scarlet Witch like nothing.
Yeah. I mean, you saw him becoming when he goes into her mind, it's like a very caring, empathetic, walking, Charles Xavier, and they brutally fuck him up. And I get confused as to whether we're supposed to enjoy that or like it was just cruel.
This was the example of, when Scarlet Witch shut his mouth, and then, when Professor X got his neck snapped, it's like, oh, you're trying to make this into a horror film.
Right.
Yeah. But it was just, there's no good lead up to it.
You're right. I mean, in a classic horror film, we get to know all the shithead kids and, you're not going to survive. You see that tension, but when we get to know the characters, despite their failings, we don't want them to die. When you introduce a character 5 minutes ago and then you kill them all.
Who cares?
Yeah, who cares now? And that's why it's like, this is like Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
This happens in Rick and Morty all the time. In a cartoon, it's funny.
Yeah.
In a cartoon, it's funny. Now watching it live was like, I don't know, this weird, cynical sense of humor.
And you know what, by the way, too, and I do have to mention this, and somebody might have something to say about this because you guys are, Marvel fanatics. Like I said, I'm a Marvel fan, not a fanatic.
Mm-hmm.
I was already done with the whole movie when she had what's it called? The book of...
the Darkhold or
the Darkhold. She had the Darkhold, right? And she goes, oh, I could just travel through and then control this woman's body. And I could be with these kids. If you already had the power to take over that Scarlet Witch's body and then just be with the kids, why did you need America Chavez in the first place?
Right. So
what the fuck is that?
So at this point in the film, Doctor Strange and America are after the book of Vishanti. Let's see. That one sorceress, she sacrifices her life and stabs the book, burns it up, the Darkhold book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now, because of that, we're introduced to this third MacGuffin, which is another copy of the Darkhold book, which happens to be this temple, which then becomes another adventure. And I gotta say, man, I'm starting to get really tired of these movies that turn into Indiana Jones. When there's way too many MacGuffins, like I'm watching Indiana Jones. The last Star Wars Episode 9, that was an Indiana Jones Star Wars.
Yeah,
because they kept finding new little trinkets and MacGuffins. In the past MCU, the MacGuffins were always the Infinity Stones, which were part of
Explain to people what a MacGuffin is.
The MacGuffin is like an object in the film that drives the plot forward, that motivates the characters in the film to be chasing after this thing, and like I said, so for example, in the MCU, it's the Infinity Stones. Every character, bad or good, are after this. It's driving the plot forward, with whatever happens to this thing. Now, like I said, it's part of the arc of the entire story, the MacGuffin, to drive it forward, and we watch our characters grow. But you destroy Darkhold, and then there's a copy of it, and then you have another one. Then you learn there's actually other copies of it in different universes. Then the Book of Vishanti is a big deal too in the middle of it. But the third MacGuffin, which was actually the MacGuffin from the start, is America Chavez herself. She is a MacGuffin.
Yes.
She is what everyone's after as well, because everyone's after her powers, right? The problem with making a character a MacGuffin, right? Actually, there is no problem. You just have to do it well.
Yeah.
Like the Fifth Element.
Yeah.
She's the MacGuffin everyone's after. She's the Fifth Element. What's her name? Mila Jovovich.
I don't even remember. It's been so long since I see the film.
But yeah, that's the great example of a MacGuffin character, a personality. That's a very important part of the film. America Chavez, to me, didn't feel like...
She honestly didn't feel that important.
Yeah, she could have been like a rock.
Yeah.
That allows you to travel through
It didn't have to be a person.
It didn't have to be a person at all. she was just kind of there. Now, we're also seeing at this point in the film that Stephen Strange has control issues. He always has to hold the knife, right? He has to be in control. And he's the one making these decisions. That's why Wanda, the other surgeon from the first film, both have gripes with him because he was the one to make the decision to give Thanos the time stone. And they, blame him for causing the snap, essentially because he did this, whatever. And so you're trying to see, okay, then how does his character tie in with this whole plot and with America as well? So let's see where we left off. Strange, Chavez, and Palmer enter the space between universes to find the Book of Vishanti, which is the antithesis to the Darkhold, but Maximoff appears and destroys it. Boom. So they're after it this whole time through this movie. And it's just...
You want to talk about something that really pissed me off? Which already this film had a lot. That right there, I was like, I had to pause.
Yeah.
Because I was in disbelief about how fucking useless that shit was.
And yeah, because they're like that book, you can do anything. It grants you the power to do anything.
And she just blasts it once and then it burns to pieces. Up. What was the whole point of going after the Book of Vishanti? Why?
Just make a digital copy of it, man. I don't know what's out there in the universe. I don't know.
What the fuck are you talking about? This book, which apparently is so powerful, it's almost like a fable, a myth. It doesn't even exist. That's unreal.
It's in between. It's the gateway in the gateways of all the other multiverses and all that shit. It has its own special realm.
Apparently, it's not fireproof.
It's not magic proof for being a magic book.
Like, what is this bullshit, dude?
Oh, man.
And the reason why that also irritated me too was because as somebody who is in the viewer's seat, I wanted to see what Strange was going to do with this book. Yes. I wanted to see him fuck shit up because they nerfed him so hard. I was like, oh, that's why. It's because he's going to get the Book of Vishanti and then fuck some shit up. He touches it, it lights on fire, and he just goes, Omo.
But I mean, what it leads him to is to have to make the decision to use the Darkhold again, what the other Strange was killed for. We'll get to that part. Let's see. She then takes over Chavez's mind, using her powers to send the others to an incursion destroyed universe. Strange defeats the destroyed universe's Strange. God damn, the way this is written. Who has been corrupted by his universe's Darkhold and uses it to dreamwalk into the body of his deceased counterpart on Earth 616, the first dead Strange from the beginning. With Wong's help, Strange saves Chavez from Maximoff as she tries to take Chavez's powers and encourages Chavez to use her abilities. Use her abilities.
I also forgot about this. So just to rewind it back when we were talking about the universe with the really high-tech New York or whatever. So they had this moment, right, where Maximoff is chasing them through the tunnel.
Right.
Whack. That shit to me was so fucking whack. Here's why. And we talked about dated horror film shit.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest dated horror film things where the zombie is running. Why is she a zombie? Number two, how the fuck is she running faster than them when she has glass on her feet?
Glass on her feet.
Three, I thought she could fly.
Yeah. If John McClane in Die Hard could fucking fly.
Instead, she chooses to walk with broken glass in her feet somehow faster than them.
It's scarier, David. It's scarier. She's a witch.
I was watching. I was like, just fly. Please, just fly. What are you doing?
Yeah. I mean, and, you know, we made that Halloween skit, I Ain't Afraid No Ghost.
Yes.
And so we watched some horror films to like basically educate ourselves, learn in a technical perspective, watch it as editors, watch it as DPs. Mm-hmm. And then when we started doing it, it was like, oh, these are fucking tricks. These are parlor tricks. These are editing tricks.
Yeah.
The jump scares and all that. And then that's when I started differentiating between the horror movies I like and don't like. I hate jump scares. It's cheap to me.
Yeah.
And that's just an opinion. But I love the real tension-filled films. There was some manufactured tension here at the end of that hallway scene because it slows down and then the water drops slow down. And then what happens? Jump scare.
That was so corny.
Yeah.
It was so fucking corny. It was just, that was one of the corniest. I was like, oh, so this is where Sam Raimi wanted to make it a horror film. This whole scene right here where she's running like a zombie, which she's not a zombie.
Yeah.
Why would she do this? Why is she not flying? How is she running fast with glass in her feet? I don't like, none of this makes sense. And it's only so he could do this horror flick thing, which is so fucking lazy.
I mean, like you could even see it through how she's fighting all those Ultron bots, and when she comes out, I mean, you think it's blood, it's just robot oil.
Yeah.
She's got black oil all over her head.
Yeah.
And I guess it's bloody looking, but just to make her look scary. I mean,
even the what mouth thing too. I was like, all right, Matrix.
Yeah.
You lazy.
Yeah. I mean, that shit was fucking brutal. That's where it was like, that felt so Rick and Morty when his head.
Yeah. Like, when he was unraveling.
Yeah, that shit too. I mean, talk about nerfing. Maria Rambeau, who is this universe's Captain Marvel. Yo, why is white Captain Marvel fucking stronger than Thanos?
Yeah.
And black Captain Marvel fucking weak as shit? Yo.
I don't know.
Huh?
Yeah. They're putting in the writing. Yeah. She's dealing with her oppression.
Yeah.
That's what makes her
Dude.
Like, the fuck was that shit?
Seriously, the nerfing on it was.
Man, why is fucking white Captain America female one just kicking ass?
Yeah, she has no power.
She has no powers.
Technically, she has super strength.
Okay,
speed, but not like Captain Marvel.
Also, and the reason why that doesn't make any sense too, it's like her physical attributes are strength, right? Same thing with Rubber Band Man, and she unraveled the fuck out of him. But for some reason, the shield makes her tactic is so different now.
Right.
Like I don't know. It just all that shit.
Yeah, it was. There's, I'll be honest, to a point where it's kind of nitpicky for us at this point. But then when it's not enjoyable,
you can nitpick a lot more things.
Yeah. Right. So
the Doctor Strange haunted house thing.
Right.
Did you like that fight scene? The one where they were fighting with notes?
Musical notes? No. I'm sorry, I didn't.
I fucking hate it.
I hated it.
So bad.
I thought it was some of the whitest shit ever. Because in Infinity War, though, Doctor Strange and Thanos have a straight Dragon Ball fucking dope ass like reality bending,
dude. You know what
magic like energy fight scene.
Do you know what that shit was to me? I was like, why is Beethoven fighting Mozart, dude?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is this, dude?
I feel like he made it for the composer. He was like, dude, have at it.
Also, he sees his harp. Ew. One single note and explodes the whole thing. I was like, dog, I could care less about that fight scene.
For everything we're talking about, there's actually a story where Kevin Feige's biggest complaint to Sam Raimi was it's too corny.
Yes.
And they had a lot of fights about cutting out the corniness. But then I think the standing argument Sam Raimi has was just let me have this.
It's just
let me have this, corny. That's just how he makes his film.
At least it's honest.
Yeah.
You know, like this is, but I don't understand why Marvel even gave him a chance. You saw what he did with the Spider-Man. So it's like, what was the point of this? Like, how did you think that this was going to be good?
You know, I think it could be the draw of his name, you know, and seeing how it went through his last run with superhero films. Like, I was hyped for it too. It's like, oh shit, Sam Raimi's in it and that is going to do it. But I'm seeing it like, oh man, you know, like there's amazing technology today that you don't have to make it look like a B movie thriller.
Yeah.
You know?
And the best part of this film that I enjoyed the fucking most was the undead Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
When he went to go over there to, you know, fuck shit up, right? Because he decided to dream walk, which was obviously not something that he's supposed to do, but this was his last
to a dead body.
Yeah.
That is forbidden.
Yeah. This was the eeriest, creepiest, coolest thing.
Right.
And the way that the trailer was set up, I thought we were going to see more of this shit. And it was only the last 15 minutes of the film.
Yeah.
But it was the coolest part about it. And if anything else, that was the most horror thing that I saw, right? Watching these spirits come out and scream, which was very creepy and very eerie.
But the scene when they attacked Christine was a little too cheese balls.
Yeah.
Where she's fighting the camera lens. Classic Sam Raimi, old school shit. But yeah, so I got confused that first time I saw that too. I was like, I don't understand where they are. I think it's because that incursion idea flew over my head. But an incursion is when a person from another universe is in another universe and influences too much of it. It causes one of the universes or both to implode on each other. Mm-hmm. So he went into a universe that had an incursion happen to it. That's why it was all fucking funky and weird and shit.
Yeah.
And then, he has this dialogue with himself, and this Strange was also consumed by the Darkhold, and he made a shit ton of mistakes and all that. But then what Strange is doing is he's trying to go after that book still, regardless. So they have the music fight, and then he throws him out a window, dies very violently, and he figures that because he doesn't have the Book of Ashanti, he's going to use the Darkhold. And I guess they go, and he goes into that dead body, and then it has that whole thing with the souls and such, and then they have the fight. But when it gets down to it, they figure that like he can't take America's powers. It's going to kill her, right? Now, I don't know where I missed it, but somehow there was some pep talk where he says, you can do it. And she does it. She can control her powers. But when did she learn it though? Because her whole thing was, I don't know how to use it. Right?
Don't get it.
Right? If then there was a whole story about teenage angst and fighting through your fears and taking up courage and bravery, I get it. I'll understand it. But no, she's just like, I'll do it.
Yeah. And when in the fuck was her powers being able to punch the shit out of somebody? I thought it was just that she could just travel.
Yeah.
All of a sudden she just starts socking people. Like
his powers became a bit undefined. I mean, she punches stars.
And also too, like the really confusing part was, right? Wong is, obviously he's the guy who has all this knowledge. He's a sorcerer supreme.
Yeah.
He knows that there's this place that exists. Right, that Darkhold is a copy. The real copy is
written on the walls of this temple.
Nobody has ever made it out alive. She shows up and she goes, "This isn't the trap. This is my throne." Why? How?
Because she's the boss bitch.
Yeah, like
that was her boss bitch moment.
I'm like, why? I'm like, wait,
where do you sit down?
Yeah. It was just this Korean floorboard where you sleep.
I was thinking like, I thought she was gonna say it's an altar, or something like that, something dark, witchcrafty or some shit. But that's her throne. Cool.
Yeah. There was too many moments where I was asking why. I thought this place, everybody who has tried to go there fucking died, but she shows up. Is it because she's so powerful?
Well, she's now the Scarlet Witch. So she in the Dark. That was explained in WandaVision. That's what I'm saying. Like you got to bring that shit. Into this story too. You got to complete it, like bring it around circle if you're referencing the past film. Instead, you're just supposed to know this shit.
I don't even remember that from WandaVision though.
Yeah, it's just happening.
Yeah, that's why for me as an audience, once again, it was so confusing. Because I don't remember, when did I watch WandaVision? That was a while ago.
It was the beginning of pandemic.
Yeah, that was so long ago.
It's like 2 years ago.
I'm not going to remember this shit. Mm-hmm. That's why I didn't understand why when she showed up, they're just like, dude, my master. And she was like, yeah, okay. That was it. I was like, oh, okay. What is this? Mariel saw this film. She was pissed. She goes, I don't understand anything.
By the way, there was like a talking yak. I don't remember that yak from the first movie.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this yellow ox? Like just talking. It has a voice and everything.
I don't
know. So yeah, she just figures out her powers. And what she does is, I'll give you what you want, right? And she transports Maximoff back to Earth 838, where she sees Billy and Tommy recoil from her in fear while crying for their real mother. Realizing the error of her ways, Maximoff relents and uses her powers to bring down Mount Wundagore, simultaneously destroying all copies of the Darkhold throughout the multiverse and apparently sacrificing herself in the process. Chavez returns Strange and Palmer to their respective universes. Sometime later, Kamartaj is repaired and the surviving sorcerers, joined by Chavez, continue training. Strange develops a third eye as a result of using the Darkhold and dreamwalking into a corpse. In a mid-credits scene, Strange is approached by a sorceress who warns him that his actions have triggered an incursion that he must help fix. Strange follows her into the dark dimension. The end.
All right.
And then that one kid who was screaming the whole time was just like slow clapping.
What the fuck are you slow clapping for, you jackass?
I hated how it ended. He's walking down the street, his theme's playing, and he third eye credits. And then it cuts to he's walking down the street again. The third eye comes back. Oh, I guess it doesn't hurt anymore.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like,
All
there's
better.
so many inconsistencies. Things just don't make sense. And once again, the film, if you guys watch it, and that's good, I watched it twice painfully. And it was like watching somebody just trying to push a square into a circle hole. Right? Things just weren't fitting, and they were trying to force it so hard with the corniness, with the horror theme, the dialogue. Everything about it seemed so forced, and nothing came together. There was no reason for me to care about the characters. There was no reason for me to give a fuck about the villain. Nothing. There was no reason for me to care at all.
Yeah, care about another universe that's destroyed.
Yeah.
Like,
and for me too, it's like, was this really a multiverse film that I watched? It really wasn't.
But it's too bad for us. We saw Everything Everywhere all at once first.
Yeah, I know. The most multiverse thing that I saw was when they did that sequence where they were traveling through all these different multiverses.
Right.
That was the best thing.
And then like I'm stuck there pausing because I want to see what's up and see the interesting stuff. And then I'm realizing, but in a real theater experience, it just it comes and goes. And I really started thinking about the way I guess this Marvel Studios is treating their audience is just they feel like, yeah, of course they saw WandaVision. They're gonna get it. Like giving the audience that benefit of the doubt. I think you're giving them way too much credit.
Especially because it was 2 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
It was quite a while ago. And one thing that I also didn't like, and once again, I think I'm being really nitpicky because just off the jump, the film gave me such a bad taste in my mouth, was that, Strange is also a really snarky character.
Yes.
There's moments for him to be really, really funny. And he only had one really moment, was when he was talking to the Illuminati. So there wasn't even like a humor factor to this, like there normally is.
Yeah, like he doesn't have the same charm as a Tony Stark.
Yeah, no charm whatsoever.
He comes off as that doctor you don't want to be your personal physician.
Yeah.
You douche, don't touch me, you know?
But he's like usually very humorous. Like he's very smart, very witty, all that other stuff. And it just wasn't in that film either. So, when they do that to like main characters and they don't give you a reason to really like them, it's just like, I guess he did have like redeeming moments where in his version, his universe's Doctor Strange, he gave America Chavez a chance.
Yeah.
Kill. That's how I felt about the whole film. I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
I guess.
I mean, look at the third act of The Fifth Element where, Lilu, where they had to bring her into, having to able to access her powers and what it was or whatever. And ultimately, like, it was the love that she had with Bruce Willis's character, Corbin Dallas, right? But we saw that develop and build over time, this fucking, dirty ass rat taxi driver, getting into this situation where their relationship grows and it means something by that third act. Like I said, if you make a character a MacGuffin, they have to have a strong connection. And like this Doctor Strange and her, it just felt like they just acquaintances. They barely.
The other reason why this wasn't really a good multiverse film, how many fucking universes did we go into in this film? Three. And then like a couple like middle dimensions. Yeah. Right. So that Mount Wundagore is apparently another dimension somewhere. Oh, is it? I had no idea.
Yeah. And what the Book of Ashanti, whatever. It's like these spaces between universes or something.
Yeah, like they could have had so much fun creating multiple universes that they had to travel in and figure out.
That's what I was expecting. I was expecting us to see the we did see them all together, like as the Illuminati, but I was expecting them to go through different universes in that way. But, at this point, because if that feels too ridiculous, I honestly now expect to see that in Deadpool 3.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel like we're going to have to see it, to have to make it a meta version of itself, to link the Fox X-Men people with Disney and all that shit.
Yeah, I just didn't understand how this was a multiverse film. Like when you have that title, multiverse, in it, I better see multiple universe and done really well.
Yeah.
Because you're setting us up for fucking failure.
Yeah.
Like you're setting yourself up for failure, especially as an audience when you kind of put that expectation on us. And then we see this like, what the fuck is this?
But not just multiverse, the multiverse of madness.
Yeah.
Then I'm expecting some fucking madness.
Crazy shit.
Yeah. And it was, just a couple different universes.
Which wasn't even that crazy. Like the craziest thing was what? Oh, when you go to the stoplight, red means go and then green means stop. Oh, that's the crazy shit?
Yeah.
Pizza comes in meatballs? Okay. That's what I'm saying, the laziest fucking film ever.
And that was the Rick and Morty shit.
Yeah.
That stuff as a cartoon, as a like come and go, like a little bit. Mm-hmm. I guess it would work. But I feel very let down, let's say, as an audience member when it just feels like it could have been a Rick and Morty movie instead.
In terms of like Marvel films, what do you rank this as from best to worst? Is this like one of the worst you've seen?
Yeah, I'm gonna say bottom 5 again.
Yeah, this is just this film was way worse than Shang-Chi.
No, Shang-Chi was a much better
I gave
movie.
Shang-Chi like a 5-6.
Yeah.
This shit's like a 1 to me.
Really? I would say like, for me 4 or 5.
This was like, maybe it's because once again, like I don't remember much from WandaVision, so it was so confusing for me.
Yeah.
And that alone already makes me hate it.
Just makes a bad film.
Yeah. It was just, what is going on? That's what I kept on that. And then I was like, oh, that's right, from this part. And I hate having to do that.
Yeah.
I hate having to just excavate all these old thoughts just so I could figure out what the plot of this film is. And it's also just not fair to the viewer, right? And if people are saying, well, only Marvel fans should watch this, that's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life, dude.
No way.
Yeah.
No.
How else could a film be successful if you're only catering to one type of audience? It doesn't make any sense. Marvel films are supposed to be enjoyable for everybody.
Yeah.
And we've talked about this too, where sometimes as an audience member, you can be very lazy too, because you just expect people to know things that you already know because you're a fanatic.
Yeah.
But this is still a film at the end of the day. Films should be graded the way, or not graded. I say films should be viewed the way that film viewers expect it to be.
Yeah.
Like just because it's a Marvel film, you don't get a pass on it. Like for example, and this is what I mean by sometimes people are on they're on two sides of the fence about something that doesn't make any sense. People got really upset at Steven Spielberg when he said that Marvel films aren't films. And then
Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, Martin Scorsese, not Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Martin Scorsese. And they're like, oh my God, how can you say it's not a film, blah, blah, blah. And then, people started, ripping into Martin Scorsese. But when people critique Marvel films, they go, oh, it's not that type of film.
Yeah.
What is it then?
Yeah. Which one is it? Like I got those kind of messages too. People telling me like, you're not supposed to look that deep into it.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. Why did they make like all the other films in the past then, That's where I feel like Marvel Phase 4 seems like it's going awry.
And by the way, too, that's hyper offensive to the comic book writers. They put a lot of thought and time into this shit. This shit's not easy,
Yeah.
And sometimes these films fuck up the comic book writers' stories.
Yeah.
And this is where they have a lot of problems because obviously, once again, you're talking about 300 comic books into an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Right.
So it's very, very difficult, right?
Yeah.
I understand that. But to say that you can be mad at Martin Scorsese for saying that these aren't films, but at the same time, when somebody critiques these films, you go, it's not a real film anyway.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's nonsense. That's pure nonsense. These are real films, and there have been great examples of it. And we've talked about, you gave a lot of examples on your Instagram stories about, the overarching theme and the morality behind a lot of these Marvel films.
Yeah. I mean, even like the X-Men, right? When was it made? In the 60s. What was happening in the 60s? The civil rights movement. The mutants at the time were representative of civil rights. And their stories were them going to the senators and fighting with Congress over their rights as humans, even though they have mutations, right? It was a reflection of what was happening in America in that day. Professor X is Martin Luther King, right? Magneto is Malcolm X.
No, dude, it's a comic book, bro. It's not that deep.
They have the same goals. But then the other one is like by any means necessary.
Yeah. What do you fucking think Captain America was based off of, you jackasses?
That's not political. The first comic book he's in is punching Adolf Hitler in the face.
I know. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
But this is why the comic books were so popular. It was about real shit. People connected to these characters and these topics.
Yeah. So, I mean, when we get into these parts with like, oh, it's multiverse, it's all wacky, it's madness, right? And then we don't get into the human experience that America Chavez is experiencing, the character arc and growth. But, okay, so because you let America do her thing, your narcissism is under control now? Your control issues are under control now? Like the idea that you always have to hold the knife. They made it so simple, Like, where did she build the courage? Where did she get her bravery? How did she come to?
And where's the emotional connection that he had with fucking America Chavez
None.
that made him go, I actually value your life now?
Yeah.
Where? This payoff sucks so bad. He just looks at her and he just goes, hey man, do your thing. This zombie ass face. Like, what is this?
Yeah. You're kind of wondering like what the fuck Doctor Strange might be doing, right? With all the shit that's been happening in Marvel Phase 4 and that's why I think Marvel Phase 4 hasn't been doing so great. Dude, you said you didn't finish the Eternals, right?
No, I could not.
Do you want me to just ruin it for you right now?
Yeah, go ahead. I don't care. I don't plan to watch it.
There's a giant fucking celestial. You know what a celestial is? Those big fucking things.
Yeah.
It comes out of the earth. And this big hand comes out in the head. And when it fully births out of the earth, it'll blow up and destroy the earth, right? And they stop it. Like Gemma Chan turns it into this big marble statue. And now this earth has a fucking giant hand and head and body parts coming out of the earth. So why isn't Doctor Strange being like, yo, I better investigate this shit?
Yeah.
Even Wong, let's say Sorcerer Supreme, this is your job now. There's like so many things like, what are we dealing with right now, guys?
Yeah.
Why did you make Eternals with this huge threat going on and then just completely forget about it in the next one?
Eternals did not need to be a film.
It didn't.
It 100% didn't need to be a film. I literally shut that shit off because it reminded me of Raya and the Last Dragon. Too much shit.
Right.
That had to be explained within like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it. You cannot do it. You cannot have that many characters, that many realms, that many whatever.
That much backstory, that much history jumping, thousands of years in between.
With people who clearly have like a modern accent and they're living, 5,000 years ago. It's like, what the fuck is this? Like the casting was all weird. It was a waste.
That's welcome to the 21st century. While, so Top Gun, Maverick, right? The new one. In the first one, it's just like probably one of the whitest movies ever made, right? And the whole team, the whole Top Gun class, just these douchebag white dudes, ripped and oily and sweaty and naked all the time. And this new one, you have colors of the rainbow. Asian kids, black kids, Latino girl, white dudes, and everyone. It's like very inclusive, right? And then, so looking at the Eternals, it was just like, yeah, like everyone. Hey, everyone is represented thing. And while it has its merits, right? Representation matters. The manufactured force feeding of that is really hard to swallow, even for me, an advocate for representation. It feels like I'm watching the boys make fun of the MCU.
Yeah.
It looks like a satire MCU movie when I'm watching it. Not only that, I was a little shocked to see them have a full sex scene in the beginning of that movie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But then again, I mean, Tony Stark got laid a lot in his first film too.
Oh, that's true.
I think people forget that.
The Eternals too. It was just. And by the way, I was on a plane ride If you can't watch a film through a plane, that means it's pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, like you're forced to sit there.
Yeah.
And you turn it off, then it's bad.
I just was like, this is so fucking whack or whatever. And it was just like, sometimes you have to what is it? Disbelief. You have to fucking, what do you call
Suspend your disbelief.
Yeah, I was by disband.
Yes.
Suspend your disbelief when you watch a lot of these like comic book films, right?
Right.
It was really, really hard with this one because you're trying to explain how these omnipotent human beings who are here to protect Earth just let shit happen.
Yeah, for the last 7,000 years.
Yeah, there's like, oh, you know how the whole Thanos thing is like, yeah, we're just gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, the character motivations too, like why they're doing what they're doing, because they were supposed to go forward with it, but because they saw resilience in humans, they want to keep them alive or some shit like that. But it's like, the problem being like it just feels like it doesn't have anything to do with what we know as the MCU, except it is like part of the story. Oh, this happened in their history. So the fact that it's in the Marvel universe is like a big heavy weight towards the story, yet not actually showing any of it. Like,
yeah, the Eternals is one of those things that just never needed to exist.
Sadly.
Yeah, it just doesn't do anything for the whole Marvel universe. Like, what piece do they really play? Like, they're just the overlords that just watch shit that goes down until this very specific thing has to come, and then they step in. Then what's the point of this? I don't need you here. You don't add to any of the other characters. You don't add to the universe.
Yeah.
That's why I was just like, click. I don't need to see this.
The problem with having those kind of characters then you take away from the X-Men who are to come.
Yeah.
Because they have all the same fucking powers.
Yeah.
Like, then what's the deal then?
And apparently they're supposed to be gods, so they're supposed to be what? Just 10 times stronger than them, right?
Yeah.
Then what's the point of that?
Yeah. Where you been?
Yeah.
We really needed you.
Yeah, that whole time.
Yeah.
When Kyle Rittenhouse was out there just could have stopped them, like, hey bro, just go back home.
Oh my gosh, where were you, when Genghis Khan was like ravaging the earth?
They're just watching it. They're like, okay. Ugh. Well, guys, that wraps up this episode of the Genius Brain Podcast. I hope you enjoyed that review of one of my personal just terrible picks for Marvel films. Like, I just dislike this one so much. And I watched it twice. And I do it for you.
So you had to make sure.
I had to make sure. Well, I just had to go over the stuff because if you saw my face when I watched the film the first time, it was like this.
Why?
Like,
why is this happening?
It's always what? What? The whole time. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch and then kind of like take mental notes this time. Yeah. So there was a second time, there was a lot of pausing. I was like, pause. Mm-hmm. What the fuck? Why?
Yeah, I did a lot of rewinding to be like, am I missing something? Did I miss? Like, I kept rewinding the part where America got the courage to fight and control her powers. I'm like, wait, when did it come to her though? I just missed it. I don't know.
You're going to kill me. I understand. It's okay. No, I believe in you. All right. Rock music. America! Yeah. Fuck yes!
Oh, shit.
Well, guys, you can catch Ed at Ed Park VP and Genius Brain every Sundays at 12 p.m. If there's another film that you guys want us to review, let us know in the comments. Doctor Strange Madness, whatever the fucking
Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse of Madness was the one that you guys wanted us to review. So we did. I didn't want to because I fucking hated the film a lot, but we did anyways. So let us know what your thoughts were on the film. What's the next film you want us to review? And we'll go ahead and talk about it again. And until then, we'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.